have the duty, I have the responsibility today to speak. Perhaps Canon has said this to us in the congregation, to speak about a subject that has become very, kizungumkuti, that has become a problem in our nation, and not in our nation only, actually in the world. In the world, na nimesikia kuna watoto, kwa hivyo nitajaribu pia niweke Kiswahili, nitaweka Kiswahili pia, but kujitia kitanzi ama suicide has become a serious problem worldwide. It is not just in Kenya, it is worldwide. Not too long ago, there was this couple was lesbian, and what they had done is that they had adopted children, and they had what they decided to do one day for some reason which no one knows is that they put the kids in the car. They had a van, and so they put them together and they said we are going to visit a city across. And what they did is they went and drove the car onto a cliff, and the entire family of 10 passed on. That was in the United States of America. So it has become a serious problem. Imekuwa shida sana. Statistics zinasema that the most affected region is the central region. And in the central region, statistics are that every single day, 4 people are committing suicide. In the central region, 4 people are committing suicide. I believe that is so because over the last 1 month, in my village alone, Moshala alone, in a radius of about a kilometer, we have buried 4 people in a month. And not too long ago, my wife and I went to one of the mashakayas, and the father, I sat with the father. He was a gentleman who had committed suicide. So the burial was like 3 days ago, and he told us, alikuja asubuhi akaniambia, baadaye fafanyile KÍRÍITA, and before the end of the day, the gentleman had committed suicide. So I, together with the gentleman, we call ourselves Africa Project Against Suicide. We are fighting this scourge, and what we are doing, what we are trying to do, is to make you part of this big army. To bring the awareness to you that this is a problem. Nikuletee hiyo shida, nikwambie kuna hii shida. And I am persuading you to become part of the army that fights this scourge. I am persuading you to join it because the problem with it is that you will not know when it is going to happen. I am here now speaking about it in KÍRÍITA, in Kemende, and right in my backyard. It is happening. I just told you over the last 1 month we have done 4 barriers because I won't know when it is happening. So the other way for me to do it is to get a big army. I speak with everybody I meet, and I tell them we have this problem. Look at your neighbor, look out for your neighbor, find out who lives next to you. Are there changes in habits which we have identified who causing this or a resultant of this? And so can you respond? Now, suicide, the main causes of suicide. First of all, suicide is everything. Everything. You cannot pin out this. But there are 4 main causes. And the first one is drug abuse. If you have drug abuse in your family, you have drug abuse in the village, and you know that central region is living with drug abuse and substance abuse, drug abuse is a problem. There's family and relationships, and the other one, which is critical also, is money, finances and money. Now, all these 3 are tied also to mental health. And so, because if you're in drug abuse, you affect your mental health. If you have a problem with your family, something happens to your mental health. If you find that people who have problems managing their money, they go into mental issues. And so, these then are chief causes of suicide. And so, what we want to do is to identify one at a time and pick and deal, and we go on and help each other. So this afternoon we will be dealing with parenting and youth. So this afternoon, tafadhali, if you have an open diary this afternoon, make a date with us, 2 p.m. I have a colleague who will be joining us who is very good with the youth. We will have a session with parents, we'll have a session with the youth, and perhaps then get together and we'll be talking about matters that then affect and touch us. And so this morning, I am talking about money and suicide. And we want to ask ourselves, is there a relationship between money and suicide? Is there a relationship? What is the relationship? And I want to submit to you that there is a relationship between money and suicide. I want to submit to you this, that there is a relationship between money and suicide. And you have had people who have been in deals. Somebody went into a deal. I'll give this example. I have given it in previous places. Mtu he was he's a middle-aged man and he's doing fine. Akona nyumba Thika, akona nyumba mzuri tu, some 2-bedroom house in Thika, has a family of 2 boys and a wife, and he's doing fine. He's doing fine. He's what we can call middle class. And what happens is that there are people from the Directorate of Defense. Kama unajua Directorate of Defense, those who are in business, you know, kama kuna biashara mzuri ni Directorate of Defense. Hata ukipewa kazi ya kuleta mchele, the LPO is in hundreds of millions. Hata ukipewa, kuna mtu ninajua alipewa kazi ya viatu, and ukipewa tu boots ya Department of Defense, the LPO is in hundreds of millions. So this gentleman has this offer. These people are from the Directorate of Defense and they're telling him kuna kazi hapa na ni deal nzuri. So what do we need to do? Unajua wale watu wa procurement, lazima tuwaone hivi, kuna karani pale ule anatayarisha ile document, kuna nani hivyo, so anaambiwa what you need to do, tunahitaji $500,000 shillings. And so the gentleman has no money, so he looks around, he has no money, he talks to the wife, and so the wife does what? Anaenda kwa chama ile yao ya kina mama, and anachukua, and akikuja akamuuliza, are you sure this guy, are you sure about this? And the gentleman says, huacha maswali mingi, wapi hiyo pesa, you know? And to cut it short is that after he had paid the money, after a little while, all 4 numbers went off. And you know what that means. He understood just that it was conmanship. He was done. Now you can imagine if you are here, you're a husband, you know what it would mean to go back to your wife to tell her, by the way, ulikuwa right. Na alikuwa amekwambia, ukasema if you're here, you know what that means. And so the gentleman decided, I'm not going to face this. And what he did is that the wife, the 2 children, he slaughtered them and slaughtered himself. In a day, we lost a wonderful family of 4. So I want to bring this, that there's a relationship between money and suicide. You have perhaps heard this story of a KU University student who did alifanya betting. There were two European League teams playing. Ilikuwa pesa ya fees. Akaeka 40,000 kwa hii team, akaeka 40,000 kwa hii team. So he was sure hii team ikiishindwa, hii itashinda. So if I lose it here and I get it here. And as fate would have it, is that the game went into a draw and they went into penalties. And I found out this when I was reading this story, that if a game goes into penalties, there is no winner. And so he lost 40,000 here, he lost 40,000 here, he could not face the parents, and the gentleman committed suicide. We were in Kayole not too long ago, speaking about the same subject. Kayole Day, we were serving in Canon Wangangi's church, and we were told of a story of a gentleman who does stand business. And suddenly, because of COVID and the aftermath, there's no business. He has a lorry, and what happens is that the lorry is taken over by the bank. And while they're holding it there, they tell him, you need to raise $500,000 shillings to come and pick your lorry. And beloved, after he has raised the $500,000 shillings, he's going to pick the lorry. He's told, we sold the lorry 2 days ago. And the gentleman decided, I cannot hack it. The gentleman committed suicide. Hapa Kayole. And I'm doing this to demonstrate to you that there is a relationship between money and suicide. Now, personal financial planning then is critical because there are 4 things that affect your life. There is your family, your health, your religion, and so your finances. And then all these depend very much on finances, including religion. because hata hii gospel tunatembeza, hatuwezi tembeza bila pesa. We cannot do it without money. And this year, this month, the bishop in the bishop's program is talking about the responsibility of us building the house of God, owning the responsibility to build the house of God. And so personal financial management is critical, is very, very, very critical for life. Now, the good thing is that God desires that we prosper. This is important information. God desires that we prosper. 1 Chronicles chapter 4 and verse 10. Jabez is crying out to God, and he says, "Oh, that you would bless me and expand my territory." And that is Jabez, and he's praying to God. "Oh, that you would bless me and expand my territory." If you want a scripture for today, it is 1 Chronicles chapter 4 and verse 10, and I'm not going to read it because I want to try and save a little on time. And I'm saying that to demonstrate that it is God's desire that we prosper. It's God's desire that we expand. You know, you're not what you were 3 years ago, even today. No, it is God's desire that we expand. That we grow financially. And Jabez then speaks to God and says, "Would you bless me and expand my territory?" No, God has a formula for that. God has a formula for that, and it is in Deuteronomy 28 and verse 8. And God says, in Deuteronomy 28 and verse 8, the Lord bless your work. It is Moses speaking. The Lord bless your work and fill your barns with grain. The Lord bless your work and fill your barns with grain. Now, two things there which I want us to pick. Number one, blessings. And number two, work. All right? Number one, blessings. And number two, work. Now, in this world, there are two categories of people. Kuna watu mara mbili kwa hii dunia. Kuna wale watu wanaamka asubuhi ku find out kitafanyika nini. You know, you get up in the morning and you just getting up and you sitting on your bed and you're thinking, what's going to happen today? Kutakuwa aje leo. Now, the other kind of person is a person who gets up in the morning and is going to make it happen. You have a plan for what will happen. Now, when we are talking about blessings and work, then I have to be intentional about working. I have to have a plan for the day. I have to plan it previous night, and I have to say tomorrow I want to achieve A, B, C, and D. I have to have a plan. Because what? God blesses the work of your hands. So without work, God has nothing to bless. If he was that day going to use a multiplier of 2, if he was going to do a multiplier of 2, then it is what you present that will be multiplied by 2. Let us suppose that today he was going to do a multiplier of 1 million and he presented 0. How much do you get? 0 by 1,000,000 shillings. If you presented 0, and today he was going to do a multiplier of 1 million, you come out with 0. Because 0 multiplied by 1,000,000 is 0. And so God has that formula. He blesses the work of your hand. So you have to present something that day. You have to present something. The one who presented 1, then got a multiplier. That day God decided, today I'm going for everybody in KÍRÍITA and Kemende, I'm going to do a multiplier of 10. What are you going to present that day? So there is work. We have to present something for God to bless. Number 2 then, there's the issue of blessing. Again, I have to be intentional about seeking a blessing. I have to be intentional about seeking a blessing. And blessings are sought in very many ways. I'll just perhaps share 3. Number 1, whatever you perceive God's work to be, support it. Whatever you perceive to be God's work, support it. Support God's work. Whatever you perceive that to be, support it. Because then, again, you are being intentional about seeking a blessing. Support God's work. Number 2, look out for needy people around you and minister to them. Because the Bible says that God is a debtor to no man, and he that lends to a poor man lends to God. If you are lending to God, and God is a debtor to no man, then these are the people to look for. And these are the people to lend. These are the people to give. If you have tea to buy, you are way better off buying for that gentleman there who will never ever, you are sure he will never be able to buy tea for you. Do you know that is the best tea to buy? When I'm thinking about tea, there's tea I have with friends, and there's tea I have with that other group of people who I meet. We used to school together, and they call me classmate and staff, and we meet, and they stop me, and you know what? That is where the real blessing is. In fact, I might be spending more with my friends and spending way less with these other people, but this is where the real blessing is. This is where this is the most fertile soil, because this person will never be able to pay you back. If you're looking for somebody to give, can you look for somebody who will never, ever, ever, ever be able to pay you back? And in that, searching for the blessing of God. Number 3, if you're lucky to have a parent alive, you are very, very lucky, because that is a very easy tapping for blessing. It is clear. The only commandment with a promise, commandment number 4, honor your father and mother. You know, if you are lucky to have a parent, please look out for a blessing from the parent. Do it. Do it. Be intentional about it. Be intentional. I had for a long time desired, to do something for my dad, a long time. And so this thing used to bother me. It used to bother me that I live in an ensuite bedroom, and my dad has never been in an ensuite bedroom. I use a hot shower. My dad has never been, and I kept postponing it. These issues of there's all of us here that are in business know that there's this loan chasing you, there's this other thing chasing you, there's this other thing you want to do. But I got to a point and decided it's not going to be any other time. This time, with all my loan problems, with all my issues, I'm going to do it. Kachukua hiyo bedroom yake, nikabomoa pande hiyo, did a toilet, did very nice styling. The ceiling was falling, fixed it, everything. But and when I'm doing that, some people within the family are telling me, Fabadaga has to hold their shower. He's always used a law all his life. He cannot. But after I did it, he was so excited, and he would be going to the shower. There was a place for him to say, there's a mirror here, everything. But the point I want to bring is, you look for the blessing of a parent. One of the things that my dad had never been to Mombasa all his life, and I decided one time I'm going to go with him to Mombasa sometime. And it is so fulfilling. And if you have them alive, look for the blessing of a parent. Praise the Lord. If you are following me, I want to move quickly. I want to move quickly and get concluding. The point I want to bring is that it is God's will for us to prosper, and God has a formula for prospering. And the things then that lead us into financial issues, those are the things that we need to be addressing. The things that lead us to financial pitfalls, those are the things that we need to be addressing. And we need to be doing it, and we need to be doing it today, tomorrow. We need to be speaking to those around us. We need to be speaking to ourselves. We need to be handling it ourselves. I want to move on quickly to avoiding the pitfalls. Avoiding the pitfalls, because pitfalls happen. Things happen. Now, number 1, which is critical, is do not live above your means. Do not live above your means. If you know what your means are, please do not live above your means. Do not. Because wealth is the ability to make so much and spend less, and the difference is what wealth is about. What got you wealthy is because you made 20 shillings, but you only spent 15. So your wealth is the 5 shilling. That is what you have in growth. So do not live above your means. If you're living above your means, it means you're making 20 shillings, you're spending 25. So you're moving yourself into poverty, and you are moving yourself into suicidal tendencies. Watch peer pressure. Usisukume na jirani alinunua gari na wewe bado unapanda mathiri. Usipatiwe hiyo pressure. Ebu you panda mathiri yako, nenda kazini until time is right for that. Usitishwe na jirani amenunua television ya 70 inch na wewe bado uko pale kale ka television sijui kama great bado ziko. Do not be pushed with peer pressure. Live where you are. Do not borrow unless you are investing. Hii kukopa pesa na ni kununua kiti sofa set mpya because you saw mama fulani hapo na sofa set mpya. Do not borrow unless you are investing. Watch your credit card. Kama uko na credit card, watch it. Hiyo kuingia supermarket, swipe, you're just filling your basket and you're competing with that other lady there pushing a big basket. Do not do that. Watch your credit card. And then gambling is not investing. Gambling, hiyo shabiki, hiyo sio investing. Watu achana na hiyo shabiki. Shabiki.com, hebu achana nayo. That is not investing. I have heard about Forex. I'm hearing about cryptocurrency. People keep telling me about cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency, sijajua, I will say from where I sit, avoid those things. I would rather uende Gikomba, ununue nguo kuje uuze, go to easily find something to come and sell. Hiyo kitenge ikikosa kwenda iko kwa nyumba. Sini yako hata ikikataa kwenda kabisa utavaa. Si unaweza hata shonesha na uvae kariki. Ndio naitoa kile. Lakini hii cryptocurrency ni nani anaicontrol, sijui yako wapi. It's a logarithm. You're getting into a computer. You don't know these things. I will say those are things to avoid. Do not be greedy. Do not be greedy. There is greed. And let me just say that and think about it. Do not be greedy. Bite what you can. Do not overborrow. Just bite what you can. And do due diligence before you put in your money. Before you invest somewhere, do due diligence. Fikiria vizuri. Investigate. There are people telling you that ukiweka pesa na sisi sijui utakuwa na mazao hii. I keep wondering which business in the world is giving 20% a month. Which business is that? I have not heard of any business. If there was such a business, all these rich people in the world, they would not be putting up houses. They would be doing this business of 20% in a month. Mtu anakuambia nitakuwa nikikulipa 15% a month. Which business is that? I have not heard it. All the rich people in the world, Chris Kirubi and others, they will not be putting up to live here 20% a month. It means if he has $1 billion shillings, he will make 200 billion in a month. So by the end of the year, you are, hey, which business is that? You need to ask yourself these questions. You are being put in a trap, your money disappears, and you suddenly become suicidal. Shall we?